Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Devin Hall, and I serve as one of the Assistant Directors in the Office of Student Activities in the Cliff Alexander Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life. We're really excited to speak with you all this afternoon, specifically about our Panhellenic Association and the formal recruitment process. I want to acknowledge that Colleen Blevins, the Associate Director in our office, who serves as the primary advisor for our Panhellenic Association and oversees our recruitment process, has unfortunately lost her voice, but she is here in the room and she'll be helping answer questions that may come up today throughout this experience. But I wanted to note that she is in the room with me, but I will be going through this afternoon's presentation. You all acknowledge that there's a chat box on your screens. If you can do me a favor, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to put those questions in that chat box, and then we will work to answer those questions. If they not come up throughout the presentation, we've left some time at the end of our webinar this afternoon to answer those questions that you all may have. So let's go ahead and kick it off. We would love to start with a little bit of a 1,000-foot level view of our fraternity and sorority community. Currently, right now, we are around 1/3 of the student population at around 5,100 students, represented by 47 chapters, and those chapters are recognized by 3 governing councils that you see here at the bottom of your screen. Our Interfraternity Council comprised of 23 all-men's organizations that are recognized nationally and both locally. Those group of students are self-governed by a group of 10 undergraduate officers that are also advised by our Fraternity and Sorority Life office. They recruit members through a formal recruitment process that also takes place in the spring, similar to our Panhellenic Association. Next up is our National Panhellenic Council, also known as NPHC, is comprised of 3 fraternities and 3 sororities that are also recognized both nationally and locally. The council is coordinated by a body of affiliated students and also advised by our office. They participate in an intake process, so not a formal recruitment process. Individuals who are interested in joining those organizations reach out to those specific chapters. And the reason we're all here today is our Panhellenic Association, which is comprised of 18 all-women's Greek-lettered organizations that are also recognized both nationally and locally. The council is self-governed by affiliated students and that are also advised by our Fraternity and Sorority Life office. They'll participate in a formal recruitment process that takes place in the spring semester, which we will talk about here this afternoon. So I want to acknowledge our recognized organizations. I want to make sure, yes. So we've got 18 currently recognized organizations on campus. Of these 18 organizations, 17 of them will be participating in our formal recruitment process, but I'd love to speak specifically about 3 of those organizations. The first one is Alpha Xi Delta. I want to identify that Alpha Xi Delta is actually returning to our campus this spring and will be participating in recruitment after the formal recruitment process. And we want to acknowledge that and make note of that later on as we speak a little bit more about those unrecognized organizations. Alpha Epsilon Phi focuses their recruitment efforts in a more informal process. They will be involved in that first day of our formal recruitment process, but following that they'll remove themselves and look to recruit membership after the formal recruitment process. The other organization I would like to make note of is Sigma Lambda Gamma National Sorority Incorporated. This is a multicultural sorority that is an affiliate member of our Panhellenic Association. They do not participate in that formal recruitment process. They do an intake process, so our students who are interested in joining that specific organization, we highly encourage them to reach out to that organization specifically or look out for events that they'll be hosting throughout the spring semester. As I briefly had mentioned, those unrecognized organizations, our office and our team loves to take a moment to share with our parents and families because we see you all as partners as we navigate our unrecognized versus recognized groups. These unrecognized groups are not acknowledged or recognized by the university or their international and national headquarters. Therefore, these organizations don't receive educational support from our department or their headquarters or any type of oversight by an advisory board and things like that. As previously mentioned, I want to identify that Alpha Xi Delta will be returning to campus this spring. Once they participate in their membership selection process, they will be taken off of that unrecognized organization list and will be identified as a recognized organization within our Panhellenic Association community. For more information on why any of these organizations have been removed from campus, you can visit them on our website. If you go to the About tab, then select Unrecognized Organizations, you will see a very similar list to what you see here on the right-hand side of your screen, so you're able to look and pull up that list. A lot of these organizations have been removed due to their headquarters, and we respect, and in great partnership with our headquarters, have respected those wishes. In there you can also find any return dates, so when some of those organizations may be looking to return to Miami's campus. Now we'd like to let you know a little bit about the sorority experience. We like to identify that our fraternity and sorority experiences complement the academic experience. And we'd love to talk to you all today about one of the really rewarding aspects of joining one of our Panhellenic Association organizations. Our sorority living learning community, also known as the LLC, our second-year women at Miami will have the option to opt into living into a sorority corridor, which is with other new members of the organization or those members who join this upcoming spring will have the opportunity to live with other women from their organization in our residence halls next year. You'll notice on here we have Hamilton, McCracken, Minnick, Richard, and Scott Hall, which are currently online sorority corridors that host our living learning communities. We're also in a really, really exciting time right now within our sorority LLCs because they're all going through renovations. We've been working on a several-year plan to renovate kind of living room suites for our women. What that looks like is a common area where new members will come together, chapters may host a movie night, different things like that. But within the living learning community or residence halls, there's different spaces for the women, almost like, as I mentioned earlier, a living room for that organization. We have new residence halls that will be coming online next fall that women will have the opportunity to engage with if they join their specific organizations. We're also really excited because this is the finish line of our sorority LLC renovations and the chapter suites. So this upcoming fall, all of our organizations will have those renovated sorority suites in addition to the new sorority living learning communities. So something that we're really, really excited about here on campus. Now I want to dive into a little bit about the recruitment expectations and policies. We always like to point out that these are outlined in our student handbook. So unfortunately, there's no really wiggle room into these. It is a little bit black and white as it relates to expectations to joining one of our Panhellenic Association organizations. So first off, starting off with the academic standing, here at Miami University we have a deferred recruitment model, meaning that you have to complete one full-time fall or spring semester for some of those transfer students before joining one of our recognized organizations. In addition to that academic standing, students have to have a minimum of a 2.5 cumulative grade point average to join one of those organizations. Credit hours, going back to that deferred recruitment model, they have to have a minimum of 12 recognized or accredited university credit hours. Unfortunately, that does not mean 11 credit hours at 11.5 credit hours. It does mean that's 12 university or accredited institution credit hours. In addition to those expectations, we have a two-part online orientation to our fraternity and sorority community. All women, once they register for the Panhellenic recruitment process, they will be receiving an email asking them to participate in part 1 of that online educational course. Once they complete that part 1, then they'll be receiving a follow-up email to complete part 2 of that course. They need to complete both parts of the course before accepting their bid of membership into an organization. We also like to point out that there is a registration process to join one of our Panhellenic Association organization. That registration process is via campus director. All of those links can also be found on our website. But the deadline to register for the recruitment process is January 3rd at 5 p.m. Awesome. Now, I'd love to dive into a little bit about some terminology that you might hear from your student throughout the recruitment process or some things you might see on our website. The first one is a P&M, known as our potential new members. These are individuals who have have been identified as interested in joining one of our organizations. So thinking for our Panhellenic organizations, those women who are registering for our formal recruitment process are potential new members for those recognized organizations that we have here on campus. A bid is an official invitation from a chapter to become a new member of that organization. So as they go through the formal recruitment process that we'll dive into in detail here in a little bit, at the end of that process will be the bidding process, where we're going to receive a formal bid or invitation to join that organization. A Rho Gamma is a recruitment counselor. Your student might have heard from this woman throughout the fall semester, but these are upper-class women that have been identified to assist those potential new members as they navigate the joining process. So great individuals to answer or to ask questions to and to get additional information, but they also will be guiding the women through the formal recruitment process in late January, early February. We also like to identify that this is a mutual selection process. So what this means and kind of how we've identified it is almost as an interview process, right? Your student is interviewing our organizations, and our organizations are also interviewing your student. So through that mutual selection process, throughout the different events, you'll have opportunities to meet one another, identify similarities, identify differences, and have the opportunity at the end of rounds to identify which organizations are interested in learning more about, and our organizations will identify them that they're interested in learning more about, right? So really learning that it's that mutual selection process. And then the MRABA, the MRABA, also known as our Membership Recruitment Acceptance Bidding Agreement. This is something that is filled out by all of our PNMs when they submit their final preference when they're interested in joining an organization. This is a contract for all of our NPC, our National Panhellenic Council organizations, that identifies that if you fill out this form and you accept membership or accept this bid into the organization, you are identifying that you are willing to not join one of our NPC recognized organizations for one full academic year. What's really, really awesome is we've got some great volunteers and staff and local headquarters partners that will volunteer their time to help walk your student through this process. That way they know what they're filling out and what it means when they sign this form when accepting a bid or membership into one of our Panhellenic organizations. Okay, so now let's dive into our actual Panhellenic formal recruitment process. This will kick off that first weekend of the semester, that Thursday, January 31st. It kicks off with our Rho Gammas will meet with their different recruitment groups for the recruitment kickoff. This is kind of an informational, letting the women know a little bit more about the process and what to expect throughout the different rounds of the recruitment process, including what to wear each day, and kind of a quick Q&A or any common questions or themes that they may be receiving. There's two different groups. Groups 1 through 9 will be at 7 p.m., and then groups 10 through 11 will be at 8 p.m. Women will know their group number based on that campus director system, what they use to register for the recruitment process. It's also important to note that this is a casual clothing wear. They're not necessarily meeting the individual chapters, but it's an opportunity once again to come in and get that more information from those Rho Gammas and from our Panhellenic Association. On to Friday, February 1st and Saturday, February 2nd. This is our welcome round. This is an opportunity where our women will hear from all 17 of our chapters for about 20 minutes each as it relates to their organization. It's almost like speed dating. It's very, very quick rounds, a quick get to know you. They'll have an opportunity to engage with a member, but it is really quick. Panhellenic Association will be providing t-shirts for our potential new members for that event, so women do not have to stress out about what to wear on their first day when meeting chapters. At the end of that round, chapters will have the opportunities to start identifying that mutual selection process. What are some organizations that really stood out to them? And then the chapters will do the same and identify women that really stood out to the chapter. Next up is our philanthropy round. This is Sunday, February 3rd. Women will have the opportunity to receive up to 11 chapter invitations to visit those organizations, which is a really exciting opportunity to learn more about their philanthropic efforts. Dress for that day will be a little bit more casual. We tend to see some of our women dress up a little bit more, and we've identified as a kind of that snappy casual. So thinking about a little bit step up from maybe what they would wear to class and things like that, but identifying that some of our chapters, those women will also be dressing up or representing their philanthropic missions throughout that day. Then our women get a little bit of a break, right? Going back to that academic first piece, that Monday and Wednesday the women will have off to focus on school, recharge for the weekend, take care of themselves, and then recruitment will pick back up that Thursday, February 7th. We highly encourage you all to check in with your student, make sure they're taking care of themselves, they're focusing on school, right? They're doing their due diligence to stay healthy throughout this week, while also staying warm because it tends to be a little cold here in the booming metropolis of Oxford, Ohio. So when we dive into Thursday, February 7th and Friday, February 8th, this is our sisterhood round. Women may receive up to 7 chapter invitations for this round, where they'll spend a little bit more time with the chapters, learning more about their sisterhood specifically. This round tends to be a little bit more dressier for our PNMs, stepping up to that business casual attire for our students. Then we'll have Saturday, February 9th, which is our preference round. This is a really, really exciting time for our women. This is an opportunity for our students to visit up to 2 chapters. So they have a maximum of 2 events for this round that they will attend. This will be theoretically through that mutual selection process, the organization that has been identified as perhaps the best fit for your student. This tends to be a more intimate and emotional experience for your student, right? Typically individuals that are attending the preference round, the organizations have identified that these are women that they really, really are interested in them joining their organizations. Oftentimes there will be upper class students that will share testimonials for how the organization has impacted their lives or their collegiate experience while being here at Miami. This also tends to be a more formal attire event for our students. Oftentimes you'll see more dresses, jumpsuits, and perhaps heels for some of our students. And then once the recruitment process is over, we get to celebrate with Bid Day. Bid Day will take place on Sunday, February 10th. This is where our students will receive those bids that I had mentioned earlier through the formal recruitment process. What it'll look like is they'll all come to one central location, they'll all open their bids together at the same time, and there'll be a celebration of their new member class. It's very, very high energy for our students. We made it through the experience, and they're really, really excited, and it's a great celebration for everyone involved. And typically the attire for this experience is jeans and a t-shirt. They will more likely, I believe they'll all receive t-shirts from their chapter that they will be joining. So a really exciting time for them and for all of our chapters. So now that your student has joined one of our Panhellenic Association organizations, what do those next steps look like? As I had mentioned earlier, that truly is that constant. It is a co-curricular experience in conjunction with what are happening in the classroom, right? So obviously those academics is really, really important for all of our Panhellenic Association organizations. Maintaining academics towards graduation. What's really, really great is we see that a lot of our students who participate in our Panhellenic organizations have higher GPA than the all-women GPA or the unaffiliated women's GPA. Another question that we sometimes get is, what does it look like involvement outside the sorority? Our sorority women are very, very engaged in other extracurricular activities, other clubs and organizations, business organizations, and things like that. So once again, identifying that the sorority experience complements not only the academic experience, but also other involvement opportunities that your student may be seeking during their time here at Miami. Also, all of our organizations oftentimes have a requirement they be involved in other clubs or organizations on campus. Once again, encouraging all of our women to give back to the greater Miami community and enhance their academic experience and their time here at Miami. That active citizenship piece, right, acknowledging that you exist within a community here at Miami, a community of sisters, a Miami community, a Butler County, greater area community. So making sure that our students are taking care of themselves, their organizations, and giving back their time to our local community to strengthen that Miami experience. So what we'd love to do today is, I know we provided a Q&A, but we would wanted to take a moment to provide you with some of those most often asked questions and just walk them through with you all this afternoon. So the first question that we oftentimes get is my student guaranteed a bid? While this is a mutual selection process, unfortunately we cannot guarantee that every single member will receive a bid of membership into an organization. What we always tell our women, though, is to always maximize your options when you're going through the recruitment process. This is something their ROGAMAs, their recruitment guides, will continuously remind them. Always maximize the number of organizations when you're submitting your preferences at the end of the night. Submit as many chapters as you possibly can. Once again, this only increases your chances of receiving a bid of membership into one of our organizations. So going off of that, how many people will get released from the recruitment process? Each year, those numbers shift and change a little bit. Typically, we see anywhere from 0 to 20 women who are released from the process. Again, the process is up to each individual member organization. We cannot give an exact number, but we do know, and our office acknowledges, that we try to find a home for as many women as possible by working with the local and national organizations. My student is a sophomore. Does that impact her chances of joining? It does not. Our P&M pool typically comprises of around 10 to 15 sophomore women or upperclassmen women. Because of this large number, and it's typically over 100 students, we actually run behind the scenes 2 different computer processes, one for our first year women and then one for our upper class P&M pool. This provides a positive experience for all of our students going through the recruitment process. So not having those sophomores or upper class students feel like they're being compared to specifically our first year women that are going through the recruitment process, and vice versa. We've moved to this process about 4 years ago, and we've seen a significant increase in both retention and placement rate for all of our upper class students who participate in that formal recruitment process. So what are letters of recommendation, and does my student need one? This is another great question that we oftentimes receive. Letters of recommendation are typically written on behalf of your student by an alumni member of the organization, the specific sorority, or that sorority here at Miami. It varies from organization to organization, but they each have their own recommendation submission process. Typically, you can find that out from either the chapter here or the national organization. But if your daughter wants a letter of recommendation for an organization, we encourage her to reach out to that alumni member that she may want to have the letter written on behalf of, and then submit that letter on her behalf. Some organizations require online submission, but other organizations might still accept those submissions directly to the local chapter. So once again, doing that research of what the organization expects. We also like to preference that letters of recommendation are not required when going through the recruitment process. We typically do not see a culture around letters of recommendation that you might see at some of our other peer institutions or some institutions in the Southeast. But it is something that some of our alumni look to provide for our students, and it is an option based on organization to organization. Plenty of women join their organization of choice without any letters of recommendation. So we always like to point that out for our parents and families. So what are the costs associated with membership? Costs vary from organization to organization, and all of our costs can be found on our website underneath the How to Join tab. We will be updating this information over the winter term throughout the month of January, but the most current costs will be available at the start of recruitment. Costs range anywhere for our new members from $600 to $920 a semester, toward active members paying anywhere from $350 to $540 a semester. We always point out that those new member fees are always slightly higher to cover the initiation fees, their PIN or badge they may receive upon joining organization, that one-time association fee to the national organization. Once they've paid those new member fees, that's why we see a decrease in dues that second semester or sophomore upperclassmen years for those women. Many of the chapters offer payment plans, scholarships, and grants to help members cover the costs of dues. Once again, that's on an individual organization basis that your members can ask about as they go through the recruitment or new member process. Is the 2.5 GPA requirement a hard cutoff, and with other credit, and will other credits count? Yes, unfortunately, that 2.5 is a very, very hard cutoff. Women with that 2.49 GPA are not eligible to join one of our organizations. We also point out that many of our chapters actually have a higher standard for joining their organizations. It's not uncommon to see some of our organizations to require anywhere from a 2.6 to a 2.9 minimum GPA to join their organization. And similar with credit hours and semester completion, these are strict requirements. You need those 12 university credit hours and be that full-time, have that full-time semester underneath your belt. This is just to help your students experience on Miami's campus, right? Getting back to the academic mission, we want to make sure they are successful in the classroom. We're also allowing them to be successful in their sorority experience. So how can I support my students? Encourage them throughout the process, right? As I mentioned, it can be emotional, it can be tiring, it can be draining. Listen to them. What are they going through? Allow them to vent to you. Allow them to share their excitement with you and be that sounding board for your students. Send them well wishes and possibly a reminder to sleep, eat, and take care of themselves, right? To pause during the week. They've got that break in between, but we always want to make sure that we're taking the best care of our students and working collaboratively to make sure they're having a rewarding experience. Recruitment can be stressful. It's definitely fun, but it can be stressful. Going back to that point, to allow them to vent to you and take it with a grain of salt. The next day, they may meet their future sisters, and all will be right again, right? So every day is a new day as they're going through those recruitment processes. They'll continuously be meeting new women, so to always look on the bright side. What happens if my student doesn't get invited back to a chapter? Well, there is not a maximum number set for each chapter to have in a new member class. There will be around 1,100 women participating in the recruitment process, and now every potential new member will receive, not every new member will receive their top selections, right? So encouraging them to continue to go through the recruitment process, talk to their Rho Gamma, and visit the chapter they've been invited back to, right? If you were invited back, if your student was invited back to an even organization, that means they want your student, right? That's really, really exciting for them. Encourage them to go back to that organization. Learn more about why that sorority is interested in them, why they believe that your daughter will be a great fit for their sisterhood. And who knows, during that next visit, that could end up making your student fall in love with that sorority. Does your student have to go every round of recruitment? Yes, this is a recruitment process for all potential new members. There is excused absences, but they're only included for family emergencies, illnesses, and academic requirements. Once again, this just helps your daughter be able to meet our organizations and allow them to have an opportunity to connect or establish or build a connection with your student. That way she gets asked back to the next round of the formal recruitment process. Awesome. So now we want to provide you all with some student contact information. Mariah Flynn is our Panhellenic Association Vice President for Recruitment. She is a really, really great resource for your student. If your student has questions about the formal recruitment process and things like that, please feel free to have them reach out to Mariah. As I mentioned, she's a really great resource, in addition to those Rho Gammas that your students may be in communication with. And then lastly, we have our staff contact information. If there's things that you all hear throughout this experience, things that aren't necessarily settling with you or something you'd like additional information about, as I mentioned earlier, Colleen Blevins is our Associate Director and advises our Panhellenic Association, works really, really closely with our formal recruitment process. She will be a really, really great resource for you all as our students navigate these processes. And then myself, Devin Hall, the Assistant Director in the office, I help support Colleen with all of our fraternity and sorority life programs. As you can all imagine, Panhellenic Recruitment is all hands on deck, so I will also be here helping both our students and our staff and team have a flawless and really, really great Panhellenic recruitment process. Woo! Okay, so that was a lot of me talking to you all. I know a few questions came in. throughout the presentation, so we'd like to answer some of those questions for you all now. If you felt like your questions were not answered, please make sure that you go ahead and type those into that chat box on your screen, and we will get those answered throughout the presentation today. So one of the questions we received is, do they have to live in the sorority LLC their second year? It is not an expectation to do that. We do see that there's a common theme that a lot of our women want to live in the sorority living learning community, especially with these new renovations that all these organizations or those residence halls are going through. They will have an opportunity to live in them. Yes, they have to live in the sorority LLC.
Yes, they have to live in. Hi, everyone. Sorry, it's Colleen, barely any voice. There are expectations that we make. So if someone wants to be an RA or a scholar leader, or there's other extenuating circumstances, we will work with every individual woman on a case-by-case basis. If they cannot live in the sorority LLC, but for everybody else, the expectation is that they do live in the sorority LLC their sophomore year.
Great, thank you for that clarification. So once again, making sure they're in communication, if for any reason they are eligible to receive that, they work with our office and the students. As I had mentioned, though, I think almost all of our women really are excited to live in that living learning community and get to know their fellow members and new member class women that have recently joined the organization with them. And then we have a few more questions coming in. Just give me 1 second. Awesome. It looks like we do not have any more questions this afternoon. If you all feel like you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us or visit our website at miamioh.edu/FSLL. Another great opportunity for you all to get any questions answered via our website. Awesome. Thank you all, and have a... Just kidding, another question. You just made the finish line. Give me 1 second and we'll get this question answered. So the question that just came in is there a deadline for recommendation letters on behalf of the organizations? So actually it varies from organization to organization. That's not a process that our office or our panel association manages. I'd highly encourage you, if there is a specific organization that your student is looking to get a recommendation on behalf of, to seek out additional information on behalf of that organization. Oftentimes that's posted on their national organization's website, or they can reach out directly to that local organization to get that answered. Really great question. And we'd highly encourage you looking at it well before the formal recruitment process. So looking into that honestly now. What are some of those dates? Because I wouldn't be surprised if some of those deadlines are late December, early January for our chapters here on Miami's campus. Awesome. Looks like that is all the questions we have for you all today. As I had mentioned, feel free to go to our website, miamioh.edu/FSLL if you have anything else. Thank you all for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful week.